Alright, so this is take 2 for the video that's going to be comparing the Grau 5.56 against the AN-94 and the M13 in two different variants. The M13 in the long range variant with the monolithic suppressor, the Tempest marksman barrel, and the variant with the faster ADS time, that is the Cyclone barrel. Tempest Cyclone, I believe, is what it's called, and it's the integrated suppressor barrel. You get less range, but not that much less range, and it's only one range that's affected. That's your first range. So here is a graph with a time to kill. We have included ADS, about 49%, a percentage of ADS time. We don't have to include that. We can just say no and look at the graph that way. It's pretty much the same, but we'll look at it again. So what is there to say about these graphs? Well, the blue and the green are the ones that really stand out to me. And let's just go ahead and include a percentage. And I do believe that that should be included, at least if not 100%, somewhere in the 50s, to kind of give it a more real world comparison. But either way, this just kind of helps to separate the graphs a little bit better so we can see a little bit easier as well. But the story is pretty much the same, exactly the same in fact. So what do we have here? We have times to kill that are around the low 800s all the way up to well over a second. In fact, we see over 1.4 seconds for the AN-94. Goes all the way up there. And it also starts off the highest. It starts off at over 9. Now, if you're getting chest shots, the time will go down, and if you're burst firing it, it will go down. But if you're just using these guns on full auto, and you want to know how good the AN-94 is, it's the last on this list, at least, and it's pretty much the last on most other lists as well, because it just doesn't have a fast enough fire rate. However, if you turn the fire selector switch to semi-auto, you'll be shooting 2 bullets each time you press the trigger, and if you got a really fast trigger finger, you could potentially make it more accurate, certainly more accurate, and lower that time to kill time, because you're having a bit of a faster fire rate shooting it that way. Perhaps, again, you know, if you're really good with the FAL, if you could easily reach that 480 to 500 rounds per minute RPM, then hey, try it in semi-auto mode. If not, you may try kind of bursting it in fully auto, let about 5 bullets go out of the gun, reset, shoot again. Again, it'll make you a lot more accurate, and will probably raise your lower your time to kill, raise your RPM. So overall, kind of a high skill, high reward type of weapon. But if you're just using it kind of generically, full auto, not very good at all. In Warzone, in multiplayer, great gun, the AN-94, but this is looking at Warzone, time to kill charts on a fully armored opponent, and it's just not very competitive at all. The other one that we have in there is the Grau 5.56. It's pretty good, but only up to about 75 meters, and we don't have an optic on it to kind of keep the ADS time competitive with the others. May not need it with that Grau Archangel barrel, which is very nice, but we've got an optic on all the others, like the M13, which again is my favorite long range assault rifle, fully automatic rifle. I'd use it over any of the other assault rifles for long range, and I would use it over any of the LMGs for long range. The only thing that beats it long range, potentially, a sniper. But for really long range, I think it is pretty much superior. All right, looking back again here at the 4 guns, or really 3 guns set up a little bit differently. The M13. It's really kind of a give and take. Do you prefer the extra range of M13, the first M13, here number 3, or the M13 number 4 that has a quite a bit better ADS time at 255 milliseconds compared to the 361 milliseconds? So an extra 100 milliseconds shaved off your time to kill, potentially, by choosing the integrated suppressed barrel and choosing to put that extra attachment slot on the tac laser, which of course at these long ranges cannot be seen by your enemy. It's really only at short ranges, really kind of under 40 meters, that your enemy really has any chance of seeing that laser, which is not where this gun shines. This gun shines really above 30-40 meters. So the M13 can be set up to be a lot quicker. What are you giving up for that? Or you're giving up maybe 7 meters in your first range drop off, and that's really it. The other thing that you're giving up is a little bit more bullet velocity, and that kind of can be a big deal, the bullet velocity part. You are improving your hip fire area, almost doubling the amount of spread, or twice as less spread, that is, twice as less the pixel spread. Here at 16.5 compared to almost 30 when it's set up for extra long range. The other small thing you have to give up is about 15% vertical recoil control. So it's going to bounce up a little bit more, 15% more than it would otherwise. So that's something else to consider by shaving off 100 milliseconds off your ADS time. You're making your recoil worse by 15%. You're making your bullet velocity worse by about 25%, it looks like. 20% at least. And yeah, is that worth it? Tough to say. I personally prefer the feel of the faster bullet velocity, so I usually tend to run my M13 with a slower number 3 setup, kind of a slower aim down sights time. But that's really more or less for personal preference. You're going to move a little bit faster with the faster ADS time gun as well. So something else to kind of consider. The sprint out times are going to be identical on all these guns. Movement speed's going to be looks like the very best on the Grau and the AN, which are identical at 4.6 meters, and then you have your 4.4 or 4.2 meter on the M13, depending on how you kit it out. Yeah, that's those 3 guns. For long range, I think the superior assault rifle is the M13, and here's kind of how they compare in recoil. So we have the Grau 5.56 on the left, and then we have the M13 on the right. Here's how they're kitted out, both with the monolithic suppressor, both with the longest barrel, the Archangel for the Grau and the Tempest Marksman for the M13. In this comparison, the Grau gets the tac laser, but suppose we could just switch that out for the optic, just to kind of have it exactly the same pretty much as we have the M13 set up. Commando foregrip on both, 60 round magazines on both. here's how they compare on the little in-game chart. Accuracy goes to the M13, control slightly, slight advantage to the M13 as well. Then of course your damage range would also be a bonus to the M13 because it doesn't have 4 drop-offs, it only has 1 drop-off. Recoil is there. Lot less vertical recoil for the M13. I suppose it would be comparable to the M13 recoil wise if we put on that suppressed barrel, but set up for extra long range as we have it here. The recoil I think is better on the M13, and it's just fine for the Grau 5.56. It's not bad at all. It's probably the second most accurate gun in the game, in my opinion. So you certainly can't go wrong in the accuracy department for both of these, for either of these guns, that is. But again, that damage range, just kind of looking at these graphs real quick here, one more time, just so you see it represented here. You have 1 damage from 0 to 53 meters, and that's a 650 millisecond time to kill. Then you have another damage of 845 from 53 meters to infinity. Whereas with the Grau, you're going to see 1 more damage drop off. So you have 0 to 44, from 44 to 86, and then from 86 to infinity. So yeah, it's just that third range drop off that makes the Grau not quite as appealing in my eyes. For up close work, well, then we certainly have better options as far as the assault rifles. So let's look at one of those now. Alright, so now we have updated our chart and we've removed the AN-94 from it just to kind of have a little bit less clutter. We know that statistically, if you're using the gun just in full auto, hold the trigger down, see what happens type of thing, it's gonna perform the worst out of all of these. So we removed it, and in its place we're adding the CR-56 AMAX with the monolithic suppressor, the Zodiac S440 barrel, the longest one, tack laser because it's really good close, the gun that is, and speeding up its aim down sights time. I think we'll do it lots of good. We got the longest mag at 45 rounds. We put the Merc foregrip on this. Again, we're not going to be trying to take this to super long range, so the Merc probably come in handier. And that's summary time. Alright, let's look at the summary. So, comparing now the Grau 5.56, which is set up exactly the same as the M13 for maximum range. What do we have? Well, ADS times. They're pretty comparable. The M13 and the CR-56 pretty much on par. The Grau as slowest at the moment because we did put the sight on it. Sprint fire speed identical, tack sprint fire speed identical, movement speed pretty comparable, except for the CR-56 is not the fastest because that Merc foregrip. Hey. What do we have? Vertical recoil reduced by 39%, the most, because we got the Merc, but horizontal stays the same, 25% on the first 2 guns. Hip fire, it goes to the one with the Merc foregrip on it, but velocity is the slowest on the CR-56 out of the 3. Reload times pretty much on par. Mag capacity down 15 rounds. So what does being 15 rounds down on the competition mean in terms of time to kill, which is how they kind of made up for it? Well, let's take a look. We're still looking at time to kill. We're going to be looking at 250 health, which is 3 plates. Chest shots, let's look at stomach shots, because that's a good combination of chest shots, limb shots, and stomach shots kind of combined. That's usually your best time to kill time, most accurate, I should say. Usually I do like to add a percentage of ADS time, at least by 50% of it, but let's just look at it the way it is. What do we find out? Well, the following. Grau 5.56, slowest time to kill up close, but then it never really redeems itself. A couple places here and there, but then we have the blue, which is the CR-56 AMAX, doing pretty good. Okay, so we have included bullet travel time to target. Does make this chart a little bit more harder to read. Okay, let's look at it this way. All right. So the CR-56, where does it fit in? Kind of right in between the two, huh? It's pretty good time to kill, but nothing all that impressive after its first damage drop-off range, which kind of comes in between the other two, so it's kind of an in-between gun. Interesting finding there. So really, for up close and personal work, you're probably still best to use one of the guns from last week's video, which was the MP5. If you're going solos or duos, maybe even you can get away with trios or quads sometimes with it, but because of its 45 round count, you're probably best to stick to 1 or 2 opponents at a time, or take the MP7 or the Fennec, one of those 3 for up close and personal work, and then for long range, sniper or M13 it is. For Warzone anyway, that's the way it's looking. Well, hope you enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.